Perfect. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our discussion. Before we get started, I do want to go around the call and briefly have everyone introduce themselves. To start, my name is Shante Clark,
My name is Lily Brown.
I am Sophia Ramos.
I'm Tracy Cow.
and together we all make up the proud owners of the People Express Airlines. So, today we're having this discussion to go over our first 10 years in business, which has been super exciting and very rewarding for all of us. So I like to always have an agenda because it keeps us in on track. The first thing we're going to talk about is really the big picture of the business, and that's going to incorporate the company's vision as well as our competitive position. Then we're going to dive into our key decisions, and this is really the foundation for our success for the first 10 years of business. We'll spend a great deal of time there just kind of going over why we made the decisions that we did and ultimately how they drove our results and our final success. And then finally, we're going to conclude with learnings from this experience. So let's talk big picture, right? When analyzing a business, it's super important that we know outside of profit, what is the objective, overall objective that the company is looking to attain, right? And ours is pretty simple. We want to be a budget-friendly, reliable travel form of travel for customers. Do want to focus on growth, but we also want to make sure we don't stray too far away from our core values. And those are really access to travel for all, exceptional customer service, and overall employee satisfaction. So the aviation industry is extremely competitive. As we all know, there's so many options for consumers to choose from. So it was very important for us to make sure that we established a strong strategic position. That is that we really wanted to make sure that in the minds of consumers that we were considered cost leaders. And what that meant for us was we wanted to always keep our tickets, our fares very, very low. Of course, we still want to make a profit, but we wanted to make sure that we always stayed underneath our competitors, which we did, and we're very proud that we were able to do so. And in doing so, we really wanted to make sure people understood that this was a point A to point B, very, very minimal scope of service. You're still going to have great customer service when you are traveling with us, but you're not going to have maybe all of the frills that another airline may have. And that is really how we were able to keep our prices at the price that we were able to. We did raise them slowly, but customers always knew that we would always beat our competition out no matter what happened. And then we really tried to focus on making sure we had a really well-trained staff, and we tried to keep about 65 people per plane. And we just really tried to grow very incrementally and not too fast, right? And then we try to stay very consistent when it came to our marketing. We did start out a little bit lower, but as we became more established, we're able to raise that and invest a lot more into our marketing. So, key decisions. So, our first important decision were our aircraft acquisitions. I wanted to start by pointing out that initially we acquired a few aircrafts, but then we decided to pause further acquisitions to allow time for our staff onboarding. We wanted to make sure that staff felt very confident and comfortable when they were assisting our customers. So we took our time with that, right? We want to make sure they're very confident in their roles and their position. And then we began our primary strategy of just increasing by one plane per quarter. Now, I do want to point out there was one quarter where we did do a trial run and we acquired two planes. And we decided that that just really didn't work for us. And so we decided to go back to our original sustainable strategy of one per quarter. And then I am going to pass it on over to Lily.
Thank you, Shantae. So some of the key decisions that we had, first being our people fare. You can see that we kept our price at 0.09 cents per seat mile when we were first starting out. We wanted to grow our reputation, grow in our resource quality. We wanted our customer service skills and efficiency to go up. Once we were established, you can see in this middle circle, towards the middle of our 10 years, We wanted to remain competitive and under market rate, but we did increase 0.01 cents per seat mile. We did this because we had started to establish a positive reputation. We had a lot of returning customers, so we could afford to do that and kind of grow our revenue at the same time. However, in later years, you start to see our competitors, they start to dip their prices. So to stay competitive, to maintain our position as a cost leader, we decided to not increase every quarter 0.01 cents as we had been. We kind of put a pause on that, did it more periodically. Next slide, please. Thank you. Another key decision was hiring. Before we were established, within the first 4 years, we would increase the employees needed to staff a new plane in 1 quarter before actually acquiring that plane. This ensured our new staff had time to train others and that seasoned staff were not as overwhelmed when we grew our fleet. It also set a tone for our company. We care about our staff. Our staffing strategy was to staff 65 employees per plane. We relied on the equation 65 times the number of planes after the next acquisition. Then we would subtract the current employees and add the number of turnovers. This led us to about 65 employees in almost every quarter, which was our goal. You can see that there was quite a spike when we had to staff enough to acquire 2 planes. And we also see that there was a bit more turnover at that time. So we went back to our normal strategy and just kept it to 1 plane per quarter, staffing to make sure we had 65 per plane. Turnover kind of came and went, and we were always making sure we were staffing. You can see towards year 10 that turnover decreased, so our need to hire more people decreased as well. Another decision we were making is our marketing fraction. We slowly grew marketing from 12 to 16%, and we kept it at 16% once we were established. This graph represents the amount of dollars that we spent, and since our marketing was 16% of our revenue, as our revenue grew, so did the amount invested in marketing. We really maintained it at that rate to keep capturing more market share, get our name out there, let people know we're a good budget brand. In a few other trials, when we decreased the marketing fraction, this led to a decreased demand, so we knew we had to keep it consistent.
Now we will take a look at our decision on service scope. So our service scope, we started with 0.55 and we maintained it at 0.50 out throughout our whole decision just because it was able to sustain. But you could see that at year 1, quarter 3, we see the effect of it, although it doesn't look immediate. And then our competition was lower than other, which matches our cost leadership strategy. We ensured our strategy worked so we would not have our staff overwhelmed, and our budget expectation was to be low for our budget airline goal. And we will now look over our results. Here you can look over our market value. Our market value was on an increase throughout our 10 years on business. It had a rapid increase. It had some moments where you could see it go a little decrease, like at year 5, quarter 2. But overall, we maintained our increase throughout our 10 years. Our stock prices were increasing at a slow pace, but steady. And our liquid and solvency. Our liquid and solvency is satisfactory due to our steady increase as well as our sustainability. As you can see, our cash flow operations has increased and steady. And as you can see, our cash flow from finance has some ups and downs throughout our 10 years in business, but it's also increasing as well. Our net cash flow as well has an increase. That one has more increase than any decreases. And our cash flow from investment has not as much as an increase because we were not investing as much. And that's why there is not a lot of increase, but it is steady. Now we will go over our capital structure. So our capital structure is satisfactory as well because we were not in debt. There was less debt, and also we had more of our own equity. We were able to finance, but it does not mean we had to be in debt. We were keeping in mind that we do have in mind that we could have used some debt in order to be able to promote ourselves more. But we did keep our fare lows pretty relevant to other markets in better prices than other markets. Now we will go over our customer demand. The passengers growth started by increasing compared to the capacity growth rate. There could have been marketing to help promote us by year 7, quarter 1. As you can see, there was like that slow decrease there starting to happen. So definitely marketing could have helped us in that point. Something that helped us was to keep our fares low. So promotion could have helped more, but we were on a steady of keeping our competition to lower fares. In our load factor graph, you could see the orange line where we're able to have more revenue increase to what we needed to cover our cost. This was able to happen due to our lowest cost in fares. Now I will pass it over to my colleague, Tracy.
Thank you, Sophia. I'm going to be talking about operating efficiency. Our operating efficiency was satisfactory, and it shows a sustainable growth over the years. For operating efficiency, we mainly focus on the ROA. Our ROA was consistent, staying above the cost of capital that was set at 0.10. What this means is that we were paying more value from our assets than what we pay for. As you can see on the graph that our ROA have improved over time once we stabilize our operations and staffing. You can also see that our long-term investment were productive and paid off in the end, especially with people and aircraft. Next is service quality. Our service quality was very satisfactory by the end of by the end. We kept it at an average reported service quality score, which was above the required 0.70. The graph does show that our quality dipped a little in the beginning, mostly in year 2 and 3 when rookie fraction was high and turnover. As we hire more and stabilize staffing, our rookie fraction dropped and average work hours was decreased, the quality began to improve. Our investment in employee support and control growth contribute to the strong quality service. Capital structure. We were cautious with our capital structure, maintaining a stable growth without causing a spike. We stay low consistently using equity instead of relying on debts. This helped prevented any financial risk we had enough because we had enough equity to operate carefully. It was satisfactory because we didn't get into any financial issue. While we took the safe route, there was room for improvement by using a bit more leverage so we can expand faster, increasing our market value. Our productivity was increased steadily throughout our company, so it was satisfactory by the end. There was a consistent growth resulting from hiring enough staff, keeping a stable work hour, and reducing rookie ratio. Employees contribute more to the performance, and we were able to operate at a high level. Next is conclusion and learnings. System perspective and tech. From a system perspective, one main thing we learned was how interconnected every decision is within the People Express. For example, our hiring strategy affected the rookie fraction, which affected the service quality. When we manage our staffing ahead of plane purchase, service quality improved. And when training didn't coordinate with growth, performance took a dip. Pricing also affected demands. If we raise fares too quickly, we gain less customer, especially when our competitor kept their price the same or lowered it. When we lower marketing investment during trial runs, the demand decreased immediately. When looking at the patterns, we can see that if we have well-trained staff, we can establish a strong foundation of customer. We did experience some delay because training new employees took some time, and since we expand using mainly equity, it was a slow growth. Our system remains stable because we built our resources slowly, like fleet, people, service, compatibilities, and market position. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. So our strategy in PEX, our strategy, which impacted our resource development chain, was incrementally building our resources over time. Those resources, the key ones being people and fleet. We acquired both slowly, deliberately, and developed them over time to ensure good quality. So there was less stress on our existing staff, more time to train them, no long work weeks. Our fleet being a strategic asset, we built it by acquiring one aircraft per quarter once established to keep pace with demand and stay financially stable, but maintain our low-cost service strategy and minimal service scope. This decision led us to increase our market share and capture new customers. Our people were both a strategic asset and huge factors in resource quality. Staffing 65 people per plane, service quality was incredible, outpacing competitors at the end and still excelling financially. By investing in them, they ensured great customer service, which captured new customers, kept customers returning, grew market share, and built us a great reputation. This allowed us to increase our fares while still being a cost leader, which allowed us to make more revenue. Some of the inflows were new customers, new employees, new aircraft. Our outflows, we saw employee turnover, lost customers, and time and resources spent training staff. As employees left, we got new ones. As employees stayed longer, we got more customers. As time was spent training, our service quality increased and revenue grew. We were a budget option, no bells and whistles, but dependable and satisfactory. This built our capability to be a budget brand with exceptional staff, and doing that well. We also chose to stay with a cost leadership position, so we were sure to be under market rate for airfare, raising it as we grew, but lowering it when competition got too close. We kept our marketing consistent to let people know we were out there, which was important for brand awareness since our reputation was building. Making these decisions incrementally allowed us to achieve sustainable growth and success with a reliance on equity over debt. For our overall conclusion, some things we tried and failed were fast-paced growth, which caused a reliance on debt. When we did this, customer service suffered and so did demand. Another was trying to accomplish too many things, such as higher service scope, larger fleets, higher prices. Doing all of these failed. We needed to find something and stick to it. To quote Michael Porter, the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. Some of our key tactics where we started with strong and supported staff by getting people trained before acquiring planes, prioritizing them first and foremost with robust staffing of 65 people per plane training time. And this led to the best support we could offer. We ended up with great customer service quality. Secondarily, we grew the company slowly, focusing on sustainable growth that would best support staff and that would ensure that good service quality to keep customers coming back. Our key takeaways were the interconnections of all operations, how changing one thing in a certain area had an impact on staff, which had an impact on quality, and so on. The balance is important. The other key takeaway is the importance of finding your niche. We did that. We focused on a bare bones strategy with limited service scope, but excellent service quality, which led us to great success. We're very satisfied with our results, and we want to thank you so much for attending our presentation.